Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday talk. I have my friend Joe joining me this afternoon. I'll have Joe introduce himself in just a moment here. But before we get started for our live listeners, we love audience participation. So if you are joining us live, you have the opportunity to ask a question. And you can do that by means of clicking on the Q&A button. Most likely it's on the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you don't see that Q&A button, you may have to click the More button. That's a circle with three dots, and you should see the Q&A button there. So if you click on that, you can type in a question. So as Joe and I are visiting over the course of the next half hour, don't be bashful. Go ahead and type in a question because we love audience participation. Joe, no need for you to watch that Q&A box. I will have that up and I will monitor that, and I'll ask questions as they come up. So again, thank you for joining us. Joe, if you would please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Of course. Hi, Jen. Good to see you.
You as well.
Joe Smithberg. I am a business performance coach. I support mostly the southeast part of our wonderful country. So Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, the Carolinas, and so forth. I also have two performance groups. One is Florida specific, so just Florida only. So if anyone's interested in the state of Florida, it's nice that we have a group specifically for that state because there are some particular things we need to be concerned about as being a home care owner there. The other performance group is just members all around the country. So I do a lot of business coaching, consulting type work, and then I do a lot of sales coaching too, as I have a long background in selling in healthcare.
Okay. I already have lots of questions that I have teed up for you just in a few things that you said there. So for the people that are watching this, these are people that are interested in potentially joining the Right at Home system as a Right at Home franchise owner. They've done their own research. They've been working with their development director here at Right at Home, either early on in the process or potentially close to attending one of our upcoming discovery days. But if you could just kind of describe what it means to be a coach. So you kind of said like, hey, I do a lot of, sales coaching as well. So just describe what all is included and just general coaching support. So if you think of your portfolio of all your franchise owners and what you do with each one of them, of course, individually, they've all got their own kind of individual plan, but what is consistent between all of them? What is the maybe the top 5 things that they can expect from their coach when they become a franchise owner with Right at Home?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a layered question, obviously. Gosh, we do so much with coaching. It depends on the individual, but at the end of the day, we want to bring value to your business. And so, I mean, I think step one is really just that relationship building, getting to know each other on not necessarily a personal level, but you want to be friends with your coach. You want to be able to kind of get along and understand how each other work. And then it's the coach's responsibility to identify like what do we need to do to get this thing growing. I always say that the right start, I'm not sure if they've gone through understand the right start process. You're working with the coach to kind of get you going. I always describe that as kind of like setting the table so you can go, where the coaches are really kind of like setting the stage to grow, right? So putting those pieces in place to initiate growth within that office. It could be, who's my first hire? Are you good at salesperson, or do we need to think about hiring a salesperson? Helping you get connected with everyone within the home office so you can understand the intricacies of WellSky, for example, or all of our different software platforms that we use. You want to be well versed on those things and be able to know who to connect with. Coaches typically will talk to our owners on kind of starts traditionally like every other week kind of cadence. And then as you get going and you're more comfortable in the business, we will meet basically once a month. Those calls are everything from going through strategic business planning, setting the stage for the year to come, tracking our progress to our goals on a month by month, quarter by quarter basis, and really kind of fine tuning like what levers do we need to pull, or where are we stuck in the pipeline or the funnel. Like sales, for example, are we doing a good job closing in the home, but we're not getting enough leads? What do we need to do with marketing and spending there so we can create more digital leads? So it's really this kind of like, let's try it, tweak it, the trash it if it doesn't work
Yeah.
type of mentality. So we're always kind of like moving around to try and identify what we can do best to set them up for success.
Okay. That's that's a lot of support, and I made lots of notes in that response. So how does a franchise owner, how do they keep track of all of that? Because that sounds like a lot. So you mentioned like, how do you make that, what's your first hire? And are you a salesperson? And utilizing WellSky and how to use it and looking at those, just performance metrics. And
Mhm.
so pretend I'm a new franchise owner. Is there one central place where I can see all of this? Or is it like I have to look at 20 different places to get all the metrics of my business? How do you kind of compile everything together for a franchise owner so it's one
Yeah.
single place?
We use WellSky. I mean, I love WellSky. I use it all the time for like reporting and getting and create like bringing up different dashboards to honing in on different things. We have things like ZWise that are more focused on like their financials and the QuickBook integration. But really through ZWise, we asked for it not too long ago. Like we need one awesome report that consolidates all the things we want to talk about on a weekly basis
Yep.
that we can pull up and discuss with our owners, but also give them the ability to pull it up on their own to track where they're at week over week. So recently we created the weekly scorecard or the WellSky scorecard.
Yep.
And so it's available to every owner. It has everything from how many hires you made, how many sales calls you made, your conversion rates, obviously your revenue and your hours, and all those things are kind of in one awesome dashboard that we have created. We can get more into the weeds and more granular as we want to with pulling up certain specific things and filtering the dates and those types of things. But we're very happy to announce that we have this one kind of holy grail of dashboards that we can kind of lean on to for a quick reference.
Yes, and it is awesome. I can I've seen it myself, and it's a pretty amazing tool and something really awesome that we've built for our franchise owners as kind of a one-stop shop to show kind of, the health of their business and what's going on. And a great tool to use in partnership with each coach and the franchise owner so they can work on that and track and gauge those things together. So something that you mentioned earlier, like some people say like I'm not a salesperson or I'm not great at sales. So let's talk about that a little bit because it's a frequently asked question that we get here on the franchise development team, or rather, sometimes a concern that people have that they're like, my goodness, I'm not good at that. I'm not going to know what to do. I'm not going to have any guidance or training or like, because I've never done that before. And what does it all mean? So let's talk about like the inside sales, outside sales, and how vitally important it is to every right at home business, and maybe some, guidance and support and coaching that you provide to someone who may not be super comfortable with that.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing to talk about, Jen. So thank you for asking. I sold in hospice and DME and some pharma for years and years, and then home care. I traveled around doing sales calls with different people throughout the country. Every week I was doing that work. So I love it. And I think instead of calling it sales, it is sales. It's really about building relationships, about making friends. So if you're not a good salesperson, are you good at making friends? Do you have the ability to build rapport with individuals? Like, because that's really half the battle. In a world where, say all sales is relationships based, like sales and home care and healthcare in general, maybe not so much pharma, but in hospice, home care, all these things, it's really like relationships on steroids. Like people aren't going to refer to you until they know and they trust you, right?
Yeah.
So can we build those relationships? And so it starts at Residence Week. You come to Omaha. Lisa and myself, Lisa's our sales director. We do a whole day basically of sales training. And even we do a role play where I play the bad salesperson and then I get better along my journey. Just so you guys kind of would be aware of what that looks like to walk into an account and make that sales call. We have people all the time that come to Residence Week and they've never made a sales call in their lives. Or maybe they have over the phone, but the idea of walking into a community, for example, and like trying to sell home care is terrifying to them.
Yeah.
One of the first questions Lisa asked, like, how comfortable are you with sales? 10, raise your hand, or if you're a one, you want to walk out this room right now. And we get ones, we get tens, it's all over the place. And
Yep.
even some of the tens, we find out like they're not as slick as they thought they were because this is a whole different space,
Yeah.
right? And so, Lisa and I have built so many tools and resources and videos and live kind of collaboration calls to help people get comfortable with that. So, if I'm the coach, they are kind of lucky in that way. They get a lot of sales coaching because that's what I do. But if I support any and everyone in the network too, if they have questions, Joe, what should I do? How can I get over this roadblock? How do I get past that gatekeeper? All those types of things. I've seen it. I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two to kind of rip off that insurance commercial. So I'm happy to help. But there's all of our coaches are well versed in most things. I might be the sales expert where I might lean on someone where like highly for your financials. But we all have a really, really strong working understanding. And then I would say some of us are more specialists in one area versus another.
hmm Awesome. Okay. Thank you for that. So one thing that I don't think that you've brought up yet that and perhaps that you have is the incorporation of the strategic business plan. So if you could just describe to our listeners what the strategic business plan is, when it's created, when it's updated, what all is included in it, and why we have it.
Yeah, strategic business plan is a hot item or hot buzzword right now because all of our coaches are actively working on creating our different plans for our owners. And so I'm about halfway through mine. So my strategy with our strategic business plan, basically to explain that plan, it starts with basically like your company culture, right? What's your mission? What's your purpose? Kind of going through that exercise, especially when you're new to create that, because you're in charge of creating your culture as a business owner.
Mhm.
It's so important in this space, especially as you bring people on, so you can speak to what your mission is, what your culture is, how you emotionally support all those individuals. So it kind of starts there. And then we go into like just an accountability chart. So identifying the different roles you want to have in your business, their key responsibilities, their KPIs attached to that role, just so there's a clear understanding of anyone that you hire that like this is what you're responsible for. We run into offices that have to recreate this and redo this exercise because there's too many hands in the cookie jar. Everyone's kind of crossing over doing other people's works. And what happens is things get missed. And so clearly identifying that is an important step in your strategic business plan. We do something called a SWOT analysis. So we understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities for growth, and threats to your business. It's an important exercise. This year, I'm encouraging people to do that with their team, to sit down with the members of their staff and be like, hey, what are we good at? And where do we struggle? Where are our opportunities? Um, I think it's a great piece to that strategic business plan. There's also kind of what we call rocks, kind of goal setting, and we want to goal set quarter over quarter. We want a 1 year goal and a 3 year plan, obviously, but we want to get a little bit more specific on Q1, Q2. What are our goals? What do we plan to do? And then we really get into the numbers. Like we have a critical KPI where we're kind of focused on for every office. It's like, hours, revenue, new clients, net new caregivers, all those basic metrics we need to keep an eye on and focus on quarter over quarter. And then we have a tab for office specific KPI. So say, for example, one office really struggles with overtime. Like that's going to be a KPI to reduce that overtime. We're going to look at 2025 and how we did quarter over quarter and how can we do better in 2026. So, and then there's things like figuring out your burden rate and, break even analysis tools. All those things are on this one awesome Excel spreadsheet, this strategic business plan. So it's an important piece of what we do as coaches, and then we review it definitely on a quarterly basis. But man, I have it pulled up on every call I'm on, just kind of quick reference.
Yes. Yes, that's awesome. Okay, so just to kind of summarize, you've got this awesome strategic business plan that every franchise owner has. It's once a year, every year, this plan is put in place in partnership with the franchise owner. You pull it up on every single phone call you have with them. If not every single call, then at least quarterly. But then you also have the WellSky dashboard where you can pull up that dashboard and look at current metrics for every area of the business. So a
Mhm.
lot of really awesome tools that without a plan and without those metrics, how on earth could you possibly know what's going on in your business? So I say all that to say,
Mhm.
without a plan, you're just kind of spinning your wheels. So what I'm hearing is the coaching support that we provide to our right at home franchise owners is kind of all inclusive of, all right, let's put together a plan and let's work against that plan. And then let's continually measure how the plan is doing and then
Mhm.
tweaking things along the way. If it's working, great, keep doing it. If it's not, then stop it. Let's try something else. So it sounds like kind of like an all inclusive, well-rounded support that you are providing. So thank you for that. Uh,
100%. We tweak goals all the time. I had one that a goal of 1.6, and we stretched that goal because they were doing so well halfway through the year to 2 million, and they're so close. I'm watching it like a hawk, Jen.
that's awesome. Okay, so as you were answering that last question, a question came into the Q&A board. I'll read it to you. It says, there's been some mention of performance groups. What are the requirements to join a performance group, and what are the benefits of joining a performance group?
Great question. The requirements for a performance group, really the only requirement, there's a couple. The first one is we want you in the business for at least a year. You have to graduate from that Right Start program, and that usually takes about 6 months to 9 months. Jen, you can tell me if I'm wrong. And then, after you graduate to your coach and you're working with that coach for a few months, then, once you get to that year mark, we think it's appropriate to kind of start thinking towards performance groups. The reason for that is because once you're in a performance group, you're traveling twice a year, and the group picks the destination. And so, to pull you out of your business and to have you put the work into preparing for that meeting and all those types of things, I think it's just distracting. Your first year of business is going to be hard. Like
Yep.
we don't sugarcoat that. It's a grind, and there's a lot to figure out. But man, is it rewarding? Once you get into year two, it's a little easier. It's like my wife like describes it like law school. Like year one is just the worst thing she ever experienced, and then it got a little easier year by year.
Yeah.
So that's the first requirement, just that tenure, just so you feel comfortable within your business and you have the ability to kind of leave the office behind and have someone run it for you
Yep.
while you're gone for 2, 3 days. Um, the other requirement is just that commitment to travel. Like
Mhm.
groups are pretty strict on like if you're going to join this group, we want the goal of the group is really to hold each other accountable,
Yep.
to set goals, create goals, and help each other get to those goals. And so those things can't happen if people are missing meetings all the time.
Yes.
So a lot of groups will say if you miss 2 meetings in a row, then you're out. If there's a reason I had COVID or there was a passing in my family, obviously the groups will
Yeah.
understand that. But
Yep.
really, it's just that commitment to the group and that tenure within the business. The advantage of the groups, we just see it over and over again. Those that are in groups grow faster. They seem to be more in tune to the little intricacies in the metrics within their business. And
Yep.
so when your eyes are on the details and you're focused on those little tweaks that you can make and those little levers you can pull to initiate growth, that people typically do. In my estimation, it's really about engagement as much as anything. Engaging with your coach will help. Engaging with the other people at the franchisor will help. But then engaging with the network, which is really the strength of Right at Home, with those other, you know, 500 some territories and 300 some owners that are out there, like engaging with them, having a network there, man, people really just accelerate.
Okay, so that last comment there, people often ask me what stands out between a franchise owner that just like is thriving versus a franchise owner that is just kind of the flatline growth, like they're not growing, things aren't happening, kind of spinning their wheels. What's the difference between those two franchise owners? And my answer is the same every time. The franchise owner that really is thriving in multiple areas is the franchise owner that is highly engaged
Mhm.
in every area of the business, meaning they're highly engaged with the franchisor, they're highly engaged with their fellow franchise owners, they're highly engaged with their different referral sources, partners, clients, families. There's engagement everywhere, all the different audiences, and I can't stress that enough. That engagement is key, and engaging with all those key stakeholders that you're working with, and your right at home business is absolutely vital to the business. And then one other thing that you said, that I want to add to performance groups. Another reason why we want you to wait at least a year is because when you join a performance group, you are before you get to your first performance group, you have homework that you have to do and items that you have to submit to your performance group facilitator. And those things include P&Ls and, financials and,
Hmm.
how your business is doing. So everybody in the group signs an NDA that you can't share, this information that I'm about to get on another franchise owner's business. I can't share it with anyone else, but we want you to have at least a year's worth of performance under your belt so that you can submit that performance to the group. When you join your performance group, if it's been at least a year, you're going to be submitting some homework, and you want at least a full year's worth of financial information to share with the rest of the group, so that when you get to your performance group, you're going to see that on all of the other franchise owners, and they're going to see that on your business. So
Hmm.
part of what Joe said was holding each other accountable. So my first performance group that I attended and sat there as just a participant, just to kind of view and observe. I learned so much, and the very first thing right out of the gate was a franchise owner who presented, "Hey, here's what's going on with my business," and I was fully expecting all of the other franchise owners to be like, "You're doing great, you know, nope, no comments, you're rocking it, way to go." But instead, it was like, okay, I have 10 different things to say about I've been through this and this happened to me and this is how I fixed it and I've run into this issue before. And it was just rapid fire of all these franchise owners who have experienced this themselves, who have been down that path before, how they fixed it, their recommendations on what to do and what not to do, the mistakes that that franchise owner was making, and the things that they can do to improve. And then even, hey, so next time that we meet, you're going to do these three things. And then the next time that they meet, they're like, hey, remember last time that we met? Did you do those three things? And, so it's just really awesome holding each other accountable to, like-minded individuals who are all running the same right at home business, but are all kind of doing it different ways, but collectively together, they're so helpful to one another on we just want each other to grow. And cheering each other on and all the ways to do that, it was very eye-opening for me, and I fully understand the benefit of a performance group.
Yeah, I'm a better coach because I go to these meetings. I learn so much, like you said. And as coaches, we're cross pollinators, right? I'll take what I learn and tell the other coaches so they can share it with their portfolio of owners and vice versa. So, and you're absolutely right, Jen. There's some tough conversations that are had in those rooms and some moments of like, I've been slacking and I need to kind of turn it up. So it's, like anything, you write your goals down, it's better. If you say them out loud, it's better. If you say them to another person, it's that much more real. And so, I love the groups. And I will say too that, we try to do a really good job of kind of placing you in the right group. And so we'll give you the opportunity to, interview a couple of different groups and, just kind of see which one fits your personality vibe, those types of things. Because the best groups they get along. They're like friends. I know some that vacation on the side, separate from their groups. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yes.
I love
Awesome.
love
Okay.
it.
So we just got about 5 minutes left. There's one thing that you said that here's how I want to end our conversation. You said this this is a challenging business, or it can be really hard the first year. And I would argue any entrepreneur that starts up a new business that they've never done before, that is also going to be the case. And opening a right at home franchise, that's no exception to that rule. Becoming an entrepreneur, starting your own business, it's going to be challenging. There are going to be difficult days. We pride ourselves on our transparency. So as you're going through this education and approval process with Right at Home, and you talk to our existing franchise owners about, what is it like being a right at home business owner? I promise you, not a single one will say it's easy. When you first start, it's a walk in the park. It's so easy. So tell me a little bit about, and also as a follow up to that, yes, challenging business, but it's a very rewarding business and it's a very meaningful business, which is why we have so many franchise owners. We've been around for 30 years, franchising for 25 years. Obviously, we're doing something right and people continue to join the right at home system. So if you would please, just like the last few minutes, someone who is interested in joining the Right at Home system, who is watching this, what's a piece of advice that you can give to them as they're contemplating, is this the right business for me, or is this the right path for me?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Jed. Like any business that you're not familiar with is going to be a struggle. And the difference, like you mentioned as well, is that, gosh, we get to do amazing work. I talk to owners if you don't have a why, then you need to find one. Like a heart for what we do is important. And the good news is if you don't initially have one, you'll find one really quick because the difference you made in someone's life, the conversation you had with a family member, or the hugs you get going in to have a consultation in the living room, and then hugs out the door because you've solved the problem for them. Like it's so rewarding in that way. So, and I think that's why a lot of people are drawn to it. When I was selling medical equipment in pharma, there was no like feeling like I'm doing right by the world. And then when I got into hospice and home care, that changed everything. So I'll reference how I encourage people to interview salespeople. Like some of the criteria I look for is, do they have a heart for service? Like, do they want to help people? Are they curious individuals? Are they on a journey to learn as much as possible about our industry, about our clients, about our competitors, and those types of things? Do they ask good questions? Are they able to, like, along being curious, ask great questions of your network, of your coach, of your competitors, learn, seek to understand. And then can you tell good stories, right? Like, can you take what you've learned and make it turn into a story to be relatable to those you're trying to kind of work with, as far as our referral partners are concerned? At the end of the day, engagement is key, like Jen mentioned, and activity drives results, right? Average activity, expect average results. So, if you have the heart for it and drive to make like a difference, this is just such an amazing industry that we're in, and I can't say enough good things about Right at Home as a brand.
Yes. Okay, great. Joe, thank you so much. This
My
was
pleasure.
awesome. Time flew by in 30 minutes. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you're incredibly busy. I appreciate you, and I know that our listeners do as well. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, Jen. Good to see you.
All right, you as well. Bye.
Bye.